profits will go to chosen charities and selected local food banks as well. Once again, you can go to our website and donate there, or you can use the link in the description that's coming up sometime shortly. Coming up later on today, we do have Tracy that will be doing her talk on astrophotography, but using a astro tracker. So that's going to be very interesting. That's going to be at 7 p.m. But now for today, we do have Margaret that's going to be talking about her photography and the well-being behind it as well. So let's introduce Margaret and give her a nice big warm welcome. There we go. Hello. Margaret. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you. Fine.
Jolly good, jolly good. Yes, so thank you very much for attending. We've got lots of people sort of very excited for this talk as well. So, and obviously all the lovely things that come with photography is the enjoyment and, you know, the wellness that comes around it as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And you've prepared a little talk for us, and I think we're just going to jump straight in.
That's fine. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, I'm Margaret, and I live in the north of Scotland, and I'm a professional photographer. I work mostly in really remote places in Scotland, and I thrive on quiet places, and I've got a love for coast and seascape photography, and a really particular interest in well-being and mindfulness through photography. So I think we've got all the comments coming through live. So let us know that you're there. Otherwise, I feel like I'm talking to a computer screen. We can see them as they go. And I think at the end, we'll probably answer some questions. So if you've got any questions, just pop them in the comments and Paul will pull them up later. So when Cambion asked me to do a presentation, I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about. And we're living in this really unusual time. So I wanted to talk about something that was relevant in today's world. And that is how photography can help with worries and anxiety and mental well-being and physical well-being as well. And I think, you know, the last few months have seen us all cope with a range of problems, from loss of income to just loneliness. And, you know, our heart really goes out to people who have struggled through this. And I think we've all been touched in some way by the virus. But what has joined us all, I think, at this point in time, is that we've all suffered varying extents to challenges to mental health. And I guess that this pandemic comes at a time when we're already living in what is a high-pressured society with, you know, we've got increasing noise, connectivity, is constant notifications, emails, deadlines, and we're just living this busy, always-on lifestyle. And I think we've just suddenly paused, like the world's just hit pause. And when was the last time that happened? And I think that as a result of that, we've all hopefully all gained a bit of clarity into things. You can see things from the outside more clearly only when you've got time to stop and to be still. So I was talking to a friend actually who works in a mental health charity, and she said that they've seen a massive rise in requests for art packs. And I think people have been a lot more creative and have been more expressive. And I've got a little Facebook group, and it's never been more active, with people with sharing their images of like flowers and vegetables. And we're really noticing things that we would otherwise just walk past. So I want to talk to you about these links, a little bit about mindfulness, and I'll take you through some of my work as well. Okay. And one of the things I think that's really the basis of what all I do, everything that I do and why I speak, is that I really believe in helping others. And, you know, there's that phrase that a glowing woman can help other women or men to glow and still be lit, you know. So there's no barriers. I'll tell you anything if I know the answer. Okay, so just to run through a few things that I'm going to be talking about today. A little bit about the connection between nature, photography and well-being. My own story through to health through photography, and some of the projects and ideas around mindfulness using and using negative emotions in a positive way through your photography. And the big one, to inspire you to go out and to shoot for your own well-being. So first up, I just wanted to tell you a little bit of background to the story, basically to where I am today. And so basically, I'm a professional photographer. I started shooting weddings about 16 years ago, and my children were actually, Cameron was just born, so he was just a baby. And I was working, at the time I was working full-time as well, and I was running a gallery, a coffee shop, and I was working as a wedding photographer the weekend. So basically, I mean, you can imagine I was cooking cakes in the morning, and then editing whilst they were in the oven, and then serving customers all day in between, and then marketing my business a little bit, and then running home to collect the children from childcare, heading home to cook, and then facing other nights without any sleep with the babies. And I was outputting energy on a constant and a daily basis. And at that point in my life, I'd given up everything that made me feel alive and made me feel, gave me energy and revitalized me. So I was getting to the point where I was just exhausted. And my marriage broke up 5 years later, and we left and we moved to the south of Scotland and just started afresh. But one thing that I did gain from that was a fresh perspective. And I realized that I couldn't continue like that. So I basically changed my life then, and I started to prioritize myself a little bit. I started to find the time to go off and do the things that made me feel like me again. And the landscape photography, which has always been there. I've always shot landscapes ever since I started off painting when I was 17, 18, 19. I went to art college and did photography. So landscapes have always been there. I gave up on them. And I gave up on them because I was giving to everybody else. And I think that might be familiar to a few people. But there is a saying that by 35, most of us is borrowed. So if you can imagine that it means that we take on the things that we need to do, we're taking the roles that we have to do, we have to give to families, we have to earn an income, and we forget what we really feel passionate about. So I think it's, I started traveling again, and I started going back to landscape photography and the coast again. And at this point, I was suffering with migraines as a result of the stress, and I was trying to find a way through. And basically, I started to use this time that I was finding now to start healing myself. And I think it's really important. It's one of the things that we should all do is we've got to nourish ourselves, and you can't really look after your families if you haven't got anything of yourself left. So it's really important to spend that time. I'm a great advocate of going off on landscape photography trips by yourself. So this is a picture of Harris, and Hebrides is a place that's really important to me. It's where I first started going to visit by myself and spending time. I also shot a lot of the weddings you saw there. Actually shot on these are all Harris beaches. These are all Luskintyre and all Luskintyre, actually, those 3 weddings. So I'm shooting a lot of weddings on the islands as well, and taking a few extra days afterwards to stay for my own time and to shoot images for myself. Okay, so I just got a little film that I made a couple of years ago, and it's all based around how nature heals us, and it's a mixture of time lapses and films that I've photographed and shot whilst on, I think, the Skye, Harris, Lewis, and Muck in there. So I'll just run that for you. It's like 2 minutes long. Let's get playing. Oh. The world is filled with the most amazing sights. Beauty is everywhere. Open your eyes and really look. Find the stillness and discover silence. It is in the clouds floating by overhead, thunderous rainstorms, bitter cold sunrises, the rustling of wind, waves crashing, and the wind drawing ripples in the water. If you need respite, if you need to heal, just turn to this always present, never failing companion. It will always be there for you when you need it. Waves will keep turning and rain will keep falling, no matter what is happening in the world. Nature soothes. Its calming quiet eases, and the sense of wonder and beauty of the world sparks happiness and contentment. Allow yourself to be fully immersed in that moment. There is great strength in quiet, both in nature and humankind. Okay. Right. Hopefully you're not asleep by now. That's calmed you down nicely. Thank you, Janice Payne, for saying you're not alone. That's a lovely comment. Okay, I can see the comments here, so it's really nice to read them. Okay, so I love this quote, and one of the things that I feel really strongly about is obviously quiet and silence and lack of noise. And I think it's really important that we all will understand that actually silence is a really important thing. You know, you can't. I don't think you can hear your own thoughts or your voice or your own. You can find your own unique voice without a little bit of silence in our lives. You know, solitude is really important. We have messages all around us all the time, social media telling you what to do and what to think and how to live your life if you want to be happy and what images to shoot and where to go. And it all gets a bit noisy at times. And so there's two things: there's physical and there's, you know, metaphorical noise. And all this can actually lead you to feeling a little bit inadequate. And I think if you come to a place where all that's removed, then all you're left with is your own unique inner thoughts and creations, and it's a really important thing to do. So this is how I now live. So I put a real importance on solitude and time alone, and that's simply because I'm an introvert. Okay, so introverts need a lot of time and space in solitude and time by themselves to unfold and to breathe as their own selves, their own true selves, and this is where creativity comes forward. You know, extroverts need interaction and attention, and it's just simply a different way of being. It's a different way of drawing energy for different people. That's not one's not better than the other, but I think that the world at the moment is a place that rewards extroverts. And, you know, loud is often mistaken for happy, and people who are softly spoken and quiet are often left out. So that's probably because, you know, the nature of being an introvert is that you don't naturally want to step forward. A lot of people don't step forward. But I think that there's a lot of highly creative people that are introverts. So, and I certainly know that there's a lot of people that are overlooked because they are quiet, and it's regardless of talent, you know. So a lot of introverts are left behind. So, you know, it's something that I talk about quite a lot because I don't think many people talk about it, and I think it's important that we do. So now I take time. I take days out on the islands by myself. It's Bill Gates. I don't know if you know, Bill Gates takes think weeks, and he just goes to think about things, and just having that time and space to do that. Now I don't take weeks, but, you know, I'd like to, but days will do me. And it's just that recharging. It's recharging from overload. You know, overload comes in a lot of forms, and when you're busy working and you're always communicating and around people all the time, it becomes an overload. So it's important to have this time alone. So I travel in my van, and it's a converted Sprinter van, and I go around the islands quite a bit. So I'm shooting weddings. I'm still shooting weddings, but I go to different islands, and I'll shoot the landscape as well. And sometimes more and more now, actually, the weddings are, again, it's a smaller part of my life, and landscape photography is taking on the bigger portion of my work life, which is fantastic, because it's where I really want to be, and I'm really passionate. So sometimes now I'm actually taking the van and going to places specifically to shoot landscapes. So this has actually taken on Col, and it was a beautiful few days on Col. I was meant to be there for one day, and I ended up sitting in that field for 5 days because it was so amazing. And Harris as well. I mean, probably quite a few of you probably know Harris well, and if you don't, well, you should do, because it's really worth getting to. And this is Tyree, somewhere I'm just starting to explore. And in this image, actually, I was, you can see me there shooting. I'd just been surfing, so I just kept my wetsuit on and went into the water to get a little bit close. There's always that problem of getting close into the waves, isn't there? You know, the lens is never quite long enough, so you just walk in. That's one of the answers. Yeah, another image from Harris. I'm going to show you. Oh, these are some of the people that I hang out with now. This whole lockdown thing has been actually relatively easy for me, because I'm quite content by myself. So I think it's been a bit easier on introverts. So the other thing is swimming. My love of water, it runs through my work, and it also runs through my life, and it's also part of the well-being, because I think that you know, there's a lot of research into the fact that closeness to water strengthens the positive effects that landscape has on our well-being, and it certainly does for me. So I always just try and get as close to the water as I possibly can. I do a lot of water sports, and sometimes take my camera out. You'll see some of the images. I've maybe got 1 or 2 images of underwater photography, but it's all in the same vein. A lot of my work is it's all based around water. It's my thing, including swimming. I swim all year round. I won't stay too long on that picture. I'll move on quickly. But I do swim all year round as well. And that's, again, it's for well-being. It's for their well-being aspect. It reduces, it increases your metabolism and immunity, and it's very, very powerful for your mental well-being as well, swimming. Probably because you've got that. It's the same thing as what I'm going to talk about here. Is when you're in the water swimming, you're only thinking about the cold usually, and the swimming. You're not thinking about anything else, because you have to focus on it. And essentially, this is where we're coming to this now. Well, what is mindful photography? It's this. I love that quote. It's eyes wide open, walking meditation. And you know, there's a lot of talk about meditation and mindfulness, and it's like, well, it's quite a difficult concept to understand. But I think that if you can think of it like you're there in the present, you're bringing yourself to the present, and you're not thinking about the past or the future. And it's that helps you have calm and peace to the brain. So it's about acknowledging things and observing things without judgment, which is quite a difficult thing to understand. But I suppose when you come to it from a place without ego, maybe, or without the need for it to be an amazing image, that's probably one way of thinking of it. And it focuses your attention on the right here, right now. So these are just some images actually from India. I take a trip to India every year. Probably won't go this year, but it's another aspect of the well-being for me. And it's my downtime. Life's usually so busy that I take 2 weeks out of my schedule every year and go to India, and I have Ayurvedic treatment, but I also sit. I think there's a picture here of me sitting. That's where I sit basically for 2 weeks, and the photography comes into this because I don't take my camera, so it's my rest time. I don't take my big cameras. I'll take my iPhone and just be really absorbed. So you can imagine that scene, and I'm sitting there for the best part of 2 weeks, really, not going that far, and all I'm doing is really immersing in that landscape, and not having to think about the kit so much. It's just a really beautiful thing to do. It's really powerful to just be really slow for a little while. And these were all shot with the iPhone. So yeah, see, there's some nice images that you can get. So we're talking about it not being necessarily about the kit that you use as well. And, you know, I think we do have to remember, you know, life's not a race to the finish line. So sometimes taking it slow and just enjoying the moment's really important. And I think that putting that time into yourself, and, you know, you wouldn't let your mobile, I heard that phrase before, you wouldn't let your mobile run out of charge, or, you know, if we sit, we take time to rest and recover. We just don't take time to rest just generally in life. Yeah, and one of the other things, I think it's really important that you shoot what you love. It's super important if you really want to find that style that really defines you, because there's no point trying to shoot what somebody else does and trying to be like them. You have to find your own thing. And a lot of people say, well, I don't know what my own thing is, but I can probably guarantee you that you do. It's just very hard to uncover and very hard to strip back those basics to find out what it is, because of all this noise. Eventually there will be something that you really feel drawn to and that really attracts you. And for me, it's waves, obviously. Right, so I'm going to just run this slideshow now. And this is just a compilation of my work. It's mostly waves and sea. So I'll just press go on that. Okay. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. And I'm just going to... Sorry, just bear with me, I've lost my place. Oh, okay, right, okay. I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the images. I'll just go through a few of some of them with you, just to show you the thoughts behind them. I can give you the technicalities as well, but to me, the technicalities are not so important. I think it's just a tool. It's if you can get to the point where you're using your camera, so you don't have to think about it, then that's the whole point. And then you can start really shooting really authentic and powerful images. Is that way when you're not thinking anymore about the technicals, because actually, do they really matter? You know, it's when you look at an image and it's got heart and it's got soul. That to me, that's what really matters anyway. So I hope some of you agree with me. So this was actually shot in Harris, and I'd just finished leading a workshop and I'd been on the go for 7 days, and I was pretty exhausted, so I would just walk really slow. I remember walking down to the beach really, really slowly, and one thing I noticed was that I noticed the weight of the bag on my back and my footsteps in the sand. It's probably one of the times that I felt most mindful, actually, and I think maybe it's that sort of slowing down afterwards and knowing that I had the whole day to myself. And I got down to the beach, and there was another photographer there shooting, and so I just sat for an hour and waited for him to finish, and I was just watching the waves coming in and out and out, and so I was probably there for about an hour before I actually took an image, and this is one of the images that I took on that day. This was actually taken last November on a workshop again in Harris on Scaristor. It was just one of those amazing days. Probably, I don't know if anybody here remembers that day, but it was quite memorable. I was there with a group of 5 photographers, and there was amazing waves and a fantastic stormy sky. Like, I've never really seen a sky that's those colours before. It was just incredible, and the waves were coming in, and I was trying to find a way of showing the power of the waves, and it's that sort of contrast between I'm always trying to show calm in my images and quietness, and I talk a lot about stillness and quiet and calm, but it's almost you put it against the raw power of the sea, and how do you put those two together and make a powerful stormy image look calm? I don't know, to me it does. It does to anybody else. And I suppose that's one of the things, actually, when I'm talking about that, is that I don't really care if it does to anybody else, because I shoot for myself. And I think that's one of the things that's really important. It's probably a good lesson for everybody. If you shoot for yourself and not for worrying about what anybody else is going to think, or whether it'll win a competition, or if you shoot for yourself, then you do actually create powerful images. So I just went on a bit of a detour then. This image was shot with I had a Fuji X-T2, and I was just experimenting with it, and I had it on a tripod. I tend to use a little stopper, leaf filters, little stoppers, and just slow the shutter speed down just slightly. It's not like super long exposures, but mid long exposures. So this, I was really, really low to the ground, and I actually think I was probably running away from the wave while I was taking the picture as well. So I'm not a night sky expert, and I think we're going to see some fantastic. Well, we saw Alan speaking the other day, and tonight as well, some great night sky shooters. But I love the night sky because it's such a amazing feeling. It's just standing there under the night skies, and just the quiet. It's really, really quiet. One thing you do notice at night is how quiet everything becomes, and you just feel really in tune with nature, and it's such an incredible feeling. I really think that if anybody gets a chance to do it, they really should, just for the experience alone. It's actually I'd say it's quite technical, but actually it's not. I can do it. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. And it's one of those experiences that, it's just fantastic. And if you come to the north of Scotland, we have quite a lot of dark skies, so it's a great place to be. And this is Saligo Bay on Islay, which is a beautiful little island that's not really very well known, but the waves can be fantastic, and you can be there pretty much alone on a beach. So I was waiting on Islay for this wave pattern to come in. I was just waiting. I had to wait 4 days because I had sunshine. I was sitting there in my van where there was sunshine, no waves. But I saw the forecast, so I just waited for this particular day, and I got a whole series of images of these amazing waves with the spray coming off them, and it was such a powerful experience. And part of the reason that I like my images partly to do with the memory of it as well. So I think if you've enjoyed that day as well, it's all about that whole experience. And this is Orkney, one of my favourite places. I say that about all the islands. I actually think every island that I go to is my favourite island, because they're just brilliant. I don't see why anybody ever goes anywhere else out of Scotland. You should all come up here. Islay is well known for whiskey. It certainly is, Chris. Yeah, so actually that's a good point, because Islay is known for its whiskey, and I was on Islay, and I was there's these beautiful beaches, and I was standing there going, where is everybody? And I thought, you know, the ferries are quite full. And then I went to a whiskey distillery to grab some lunch, and everybody was in the whiskey distillery. So yeah, I think the landscapes of Islay get a bit forgotten about. They're all in the distilleries. So this is Orkney, and yeah, Orkney is just a fabulous place. And I used to go every year at New Year, because I like the winters. The winters on islands are just the best time ever. One, because there's no people, no tourists, and two, because you get the best light and the best conditions. You know, it can be quite challenging to shoot in these conditions, but when you do get the images from winter months on these islands, it can be amazing. And actually, this is a classic example of Orkney at its best in the middle of a storm, and it was like 50-60 mile an hour winds, and I was walking out on the edge of these cliffs I could see these waves crashing, and I really wanted to capture it. So I was walking along aware that actually, you know, the wind was really powerful, and I'd had to be really careful. So when I was shooting, I had to crawl to the edge of the cliff just to be safe, and there's no chance of a tripod, because you just couldn't put a tripod up in that weather. So I shot handheld. I don't even know, I could see what I was shooting at the time, but I managed to get a few shots anyway. So I just wanted to go through a few of my photos so you could get an idea of what I do for myself, and then talk a little bit about photography as therapy. And it's not really a new concept where we use art as therapy. It's you know, it's been talked about a lot, but I think that negative emotions can be quite destructive, and they're painful to live with. And although I cope well in life now, I'm quite a happy and positive person. It's not that I haven't had times of distress in my past life, and it's not that I don't understand. So I do understand, and I've spent a lot of time learning to harness and channel these negative emotions into creating something from art. And you know, the medium's changed over the years. I used to paint, and now I photograph, but it's all the same idea. Is if you can feed off those emotions, because you know, anxiety has massive energy, and if you can feed off it and use it as fuel for creativity, that's a wonderful thing to be able to do. And so to perfectionism, I just wanted to talk a little bit about perfectionism and how, you know, nobody's born a Mozart, or you know, it's you have to have the courage to go out and create mediocre images to start with, and you have to allow yourself to be imperfect and not to worry about that, and then soon enough the brilliant images will slip through. You know, it's taken me a long time to get to where I am now, but if I hadn't gone through that process, I wouldn't be here, if that makes sense. So, you know, you don't think about you need to be brilliant or create a masterpiece straight off. It's the process that's important, and you just have to keep going with persistence and regularity. And you know, I think the thing is about perfection is it stops us starting a lot, and we're too worried about it being good. And it's you know, if you think about how children create when they're young, and have you ever seen like 3-year-olds worrying about what their art's going to look like as they dive in with their hands and make a mess? You know, they just enjoy it and they create mess and they're free. And I think we kind of lose that a little bit as we get older. So if you start doing things quite freely, I think what you'll notice is that if you're feeling any anxiety, you're there in the moment, and you're there very much concentrating on the present. And what you do is you find that these anxious feelings subside, you know, so it just happens naturally. So a little bit about the voices that are in our heads, and you know, it's one of those things your head starts to tell you, or other people start to tell you, that you've got to be, you're not good enough, or who are you to do this? Well, do you know, I think that a lot, actually. It's something that I've battled with over the years. Who am I to be talking in front of all of you? Well, and the answer is, well, who am I not to be? Why not? And I think if a lot of other people took the ability to take that voice and, somebody described it, slam the door on it and just do it regardless, and then we'll all you'll move forward. So if it's something that you really want to do and you feel really inclined to do it, and I think it's something that will push you forward. So maybe it's entering that competition or creating more work in a certain genre that you don't feel quite comfortable with, or stepping forward and just saying, I'd like to be part of this, or I'd like to talk for Camping Photography Live. Just do it. And these voices, I think they're in everybody's heads, and we have to learn to not listen to them so much. And one of the ways of doing that is by surrounding yourself with positivity and positive people, and nourishing yourself in a positive way. I read a lot, and I listen to a lot of podcasts that build me up, and I don't listen to the negative things. It's easy to listen to negative things, and I think there's a lot in photography where you are put down and criticized. So that leads quite nicely on to, remember, I love this quote as well. This is one of my favorite. Everyone shines given the right lighting. So, we all just need the right lighting, and we've all got something inside ourselves to give. So, yeah, this leads us on to Quiet Landscapes, which is the workshop business that I created a couple of years ago. And it was born out of a desire to help other people through. And I suppose, when I was talking about losing myself and not shooting landscapes and not taking time for myself all those years ago, it's born of a desire to help other people through that. And I think in a way that all that time that I went through was a blessing, because it's given me empathy and the understanding for others, and it's given me a real passion and a drive to help others through this as well, and to facilitate for other people to go out and take time for themselves in a nurturing and non-ego driven environment. So there's just some of the images. That's Paul Sanders and me what we're doing there in the forest, laughing in the forest, and teaching, and one of the images from Orkney. So I do a couple of workshops with Paul, and a few by myself as well. So just for the last few minutes, I just wanted to talk a little bit about intimate landscapes. It's different to my seascapes, completely different thing, but I do absolutely love shooting these small details in nature as well, and it's something that I teach quite a bit and I encourage people to do. One, because it's mindful, and it requires patience, and it requires you really, really studying the world around you, and it's also one of the things that you might overlook if you're only focusing on the big landscapes. And some people don't always respond to the big, wide open landscapes, and they prefer the smaller details, and they're everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And there's something that we've really learned from this past 2 months, is that beauty is everywhere. And if you really want to create, you have to go into your garden at the moment and create. So it's a matter of finding these little details. So this is me teaching. This is an Orkney, just demonstrating how to shoot some shells on the beach. And I do actually, a lot of people say to me, what kit do you use? And the most important bit of kit for me is waterproof trousers and waterproof coat, because I'm always lying on the floor. But I have just actually switched to Fuji. That's a GFX 50S, and this is one of the results. That I was lying on the beach actually later that day, photographing the seaweed, and I just loved the light coming through. It was backlit, and just that lovely feeling you can get from these little details on the ground, which is just amazing, isn't it? And these are some grasses as well. So this is my back garden. This is actually right at the beginning of the lockdown. I was isolating it up here. This is my partner's house, and quite luckily enough, he's got acres and acres, and it backs onto hillside as well. So we have got quite a bit. But at the time, I was only working within sort of a few minutes from the house, the back door of the house. So that little patch of grass to the right there, I did a few weeks just photographing that tiny bit of patch of grass, and these are some of the images that I got from it. And you know, it's not something you'd do in any normal circumstances. You would just overlook that, wouldn't you? And you'd get in your car and you'd drive. But these incredible, it's the same grasses, I think, over a course of a few weeks. And just a wonderful chance to slow down and to really look for these details. Okay, and this is the other side of the house. It's the other bit of garden, and we had quite a lot of sunshine in Scotland during this time, and so I just walked out here. And you know, normally I just wouldn't think to even take my camera to this bit of this bit here, but I was trying to think, well, what can I photograph? And really having to look really harder than normally. And this was one of the images. So you can see there's a little bit of is it broom? It's called the yellow plant. And so I shot this. It was just a wonderful thing to do, to really concentrate the mind, and you know, not to worry about all of everything that was going on around me. And you know, there's that hour of doing this. So I found this little bit of broom, and then some lichen on the trees, and just details of the ground there. And this is actually just a little bit lichen on the trees as well. So I think we're coming to the end here. Yeah, we have. So that's if you want to catch up with me, there's my website there, and I'm mostly on Instagram. And yeah, just always remember that last quote, that every one of us has got something beautiful to share. And I think that's regardless of age or walk of life or anything. I think every single one of us has got something to give. So don't be shy, and you know, don't be shy to message me as well if you want anything or you want to chat. Totally open to hearing from people. So that's it from me. Over to Paul.
Oh, that was so lovely.
Thank you.
I had to slightly recompose myself before coming back on live then, because I was just absolutely so in the moment, and some of the things that you said there just really hit home as well. So
that's good.
really nice.
Thank you.
To the point where I forgot my actual job, where I'm supposed to be looking at questions and stuff like that. So I think we've had just an amazing amount of just lovely comments sort of coming through, and nice. Where we can get whiskey from as well, which is
Isla. You have to go to Isla.
Yeah. We had a lovely comment from Chris again, commenting, what an escape from lockdown. Yeah, I can certainly sort of resonate with that as well, and just sort of forgetting that I'm actually in my room and just watching the screen now. So absolutely lovely.
We're still locked down up here, so we've got another few. I know it's an awful thing to say, but I'm I don't want to go out of lockdown, because I'm actually enjoying it so much, and just having this. That's terrible, because you feel guilty at that, because you know other people are having a hard time. But for me, that time and the space to just have time to think about things and to create new things, and it's just been absolutely wonderful. So
I think as well, you know, everyone goes through their own thing, don't they, as well. So
they do.
I mean, it's just, some people want to come out of lockdown, some people don't mind being in it. And I think the main thing that we've got to remember in these very strange times as well is that people have to go through their own emotions, and you know, people have to be them, and you can only be you, that's it, really, more than anything. That's right, we had a question about where's it gone?
I can see one there about what lenses, extenders, etc.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we can quickly go into the what lenses, extensions for the GFX. I mean, do you have a certain kit that you sort of go to, or?
Well, do you know what? Actually, the GFX is quite new to me. It was just literally before lockdown I got it. So I've got GFX 50S, and a 250mm lens at the minute, which is quite interesting with a macro extension. And I've just started experimenting with that, which has been quite nice, actually. I have a bit of time to play around with that. Before that, and in fact, some of the images at the end and most of the landscape images were shot with Nikons, because I was using Nikon before switching over. So most of the ones before the intimate landscape ones were probably a Nikon D800 with a 60mm macro lens. And but yeah, for the GFX, actually, just at the moment, I've got the 250, and I've also just bought the 23mm, 23, and that's great for night skies. So basically, I just bought that for night skies.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant.
That's enough kit talk. Enough kit talk.
Yeah, definitely. We had a question. This is quite in depth, so we might need to unpack it a little bit.
Oh my goodness!
But yeah, I know. So can you expand on anxiety into energy? Yeah, I mean,
it's a good one.
That is a good one.
Well, you know, there is a lot of energy that comes from being anxious. You know, when you're anxious and you're fearful, or you're worried, or you're even goes as far as depressed, or there's a lot of energy that's in the body, and you don't know what to do with it. You know, you don't know where to go with it. A lot of people go inwards with it. And, does that make any sense? I don't know if that resonates with anybody. It's certainly for me. I know that if I'm experiencing anything like that, it's I don't know where to put it. I don't know what to do with myself, and you don't quite know what to do to make yourself feel better, because that's a whole world of, you know, that's another different thing. But if you then go, right, okay, I'm feeling anxious, or I'm feeling whatever you're feeling, I know that my default is that if I pick up a camera up and I go and shoot something with it, by the end of that process I will feel better. So I think for me, whenever I've experienced like loss, there's been a couple of times when been particularly, you know, grief is an awful thing. I instantly pick my camera up and I will go to the water. You know, I sometimes it's not normally swimming, actually. I don't know. It comes out in. I want to somehow put that into the images. So you're grabbing that energy and that those feelings that you don't know where to put, and you're putting them into the images instead. And then, or I mean, it could be painting, it could be music, it could be whatever it is that does it for you. Painting's got a good one because you can just really go for it and just let it out almost. Photography is much more structured and much more it's a different way. It's less of a splurge photography. You're much more structured with it, but you are also very, very focused on the images that you're creating and what you're doing and noticing. And it takes you away from that place of thinking and concentrating on the anxiety and not knowing what to do with the anxiety. So it needs an outlet almost. Does that answer the question?
For me it does. And obviously we all have our, you know, all our brains work differently, so it's a case of, but you know, in short, it's a case of, you know, something that you can try. You know, if you are feeling sort of any anxiety, you know, and like you said, it comes in all forms. You know, potentially, you know, depression or just sadness. Try finding an outlet, like something like photography, and just seeing if it helps, and that's turning that energy into something that's hopefully positive for you. Lovely. Oh, I love how I could talk about all of this for hours on end. I think looking at the comments, some more sort of great comments there. Sort of really interesting, beautiful images that we're seeing sort of there as well. So, but I think that would be a nice sort of point to sort of end it on. Really, I would say.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for joining us.
It's okay.
It's been wonderful seeing your work. And I'm sure everyone's enjoyed it, as we can see from of the lovely comments there. So yes, we'll say bye to Margaret for now. I'll just put you back in the green room, and I'll speak to you sort of afterwards as well.
Okay.
Thank you ever so much. That was absolutely lovely. Really enjoyed that. yes, so later on today, we've got some our last speaker of the day, which is Tracy. She'll be coming up and doing some astrophotography with us. We're loving our astro at the moment, so and Tracy will be going over doing astro work with a tracker, so it'll be tracking the stars and photographing them as well. Thank you for everyone watching live. Your comments have been absolutely amazing. Lovely to see the support that we're having today. It's really, really nice. Also, you can rewatch this video, so you can go to our website, click on the speakers, and rewatch this video at any time if needs be. If you are rewatching this video, you can still comment in there. We can try and get to the questions, and like the video, share the video. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on some more of the live talks that we're actually doing for you. For me, for now, until later on, we'll see you. Bye-bye.